$4.1 million is what my merch brand, clothing brand did in less than 2 years with zero paid ads at 70% margins. So think about how much money that is. And I did this all because I knew how to build my online personal brand and then monetize it, which I'm going to teach you in this video. Now, as we go into this is again why I want you guys to understand the importance of building your online personal brand in 2025. We have so many tools available to us through AI and all these various different social media platforms that if you are not posting every single day on social media, you are missing out. You are sitting on a literal gold mine. Once you build that following, you can start stuff like this brand, which I'm going to show you guys specifically today how I went about starting my clothing brand step by step. So again, step one is going to be the whole concept of building the personal brand, finding a niche, growing it. I did fitness. That's when I started. In 2019 was my first fitness YouTube video. It took me about a year of posting consistently before I started getting a little bit of people actually messing with me. And then me and my dad were like, all right, bet, let's start a merch brand, which I saw a lot of other YouTubers doing. So I was like, I'll try it out. We bought 2 heat presses, and in my basement basically became a Chinese sweatshop. It was just me and my dad heat pressing various clothes, shirts, and hoodies. And then we did our first drops, started as merch. That was the birthplace of Elysium. Again, since then, we have done over $4 million gross, and that literally was in the span of less than 2 years. And it started at something where we just did like a 50 t-shirt drop to our highest point where we ordered 10,000 units overseas with China. So I'm going to show you guys again how we get into that. If you guys want to learn more about building your online personal brand, I would recommend watching some of the other videos on the page or working with me directly one-on-one. DM me the word brand on Instagram, or you can check out our free training, I believe, that we have down below in the description. If you want to learn more about those core key concepts, and if you want to work with me directly one-on-one, that also is available in my inner circle. So first thing I want you to ask yourself, or at least question, is why do I want to start a clothing brand, and why is it potentially a good business place to even be in? One, I would say that profit margins are one of the best things in the clothing industry, but the profit margins are only really good if you are not having to do a lot of paid marketing. So this is, again, the benefit of building an online personal brand, which is what I did. I did not have to invest money into marketing. I didn't have to do ad spend or any of those things. And I ran it out of my basement, so there was no overhead costs whatsoever. So my profit margins were always very good, roughly 70 to 75%, which is really good speaking business terms. The other added benefit of a clothing brand is that if you scale it and build it well enough, you can exit it for a multiplier, which is what a lot of other brands usually will do. The last thing I love about clothing brands is it's extremely fun to do. It's a fun process. If you're very creative and you're into fashion or whatnot, I think it's just an enjoyable business to be in. And there's 3 different ways to kind of go about starting it or running a clothing brand. One, it's going to be a print-on-demand service, which is what a lot of people tend to do when they're starting out, or they do this for merch. It's going to be your stuff like, I think it's like Printify or what's the other one? Tap Stitch, I believe, is the other one. These are going to be brands that basically do like the fulfillment process for you, and you don't have to like buy in bulk. So for me with Elysium, we would buy in bulk, so you don't have to put money out. You wait till an order comes in, and then like they basically will do the fulfillment for you, and then your client won't get it till like 2-3 weeks, but at least you're not having to shell out the money off rip. So that's a cool benefit, I guess, with print on demand. The negative with print on demand is you get a lot less flexibility with the customized aspect of the clothing brand, with the specifics of cuts, the materials, and obviously it takes a lot longer to fulfill, which people don't like when you're trying to scale a brand. I think it's the cool part is if you're low on money and you need somewhere to start, I don't think it's a bad place to start. We actually have one of the guys in the inner circle, Ben, who's using Tap Stitch for his own merch brand that he just started. So it's not a bad place to start, but if you have more money to invest in yourself, I would recommend going with option 2, which is going to be finding a local printer or doing it yourself, which is what we immediately went into with my merch brand, which is, I keep saying merch brand, but this is what Elysium was. It started as merch and then it scaled into its own kind of separate entity. So what you do with this, I'll put you guys on what I personally did. We even did this for our last Elysium drop. So I would buy in bulk from this supplier, right? I would get the clothes in like, I don't know, a week or 2 because it was local in America, which is the benefit. And I would send it to a local print shop called Nightmare in Maryland, and they would print it for us. Or me and my dad, in the beginning of the stage where it wasn't a lot, we would print it ourselves with the heat press in our basement. And then once we had everything heat pressed and done, we would fold it up onto these cabinets, and then we would do the drop, sell it out, and then restock and rebuy more, do new designs, whatever it was. But it was always like the same hoodie or t-shirt. That's option 2. The benefit with that is that you have a way faster turnaround time because you have the product in hand and you're getting the clothes from like America. So it's not taking you long. Because the third option, which is once you start scaling a little bit more, is going overseas, which takes potentially up to 3 months for you to get your stuff. I remember one of my biggest business decisions I had to make for myself was in 2023. I saw how much Elysium was ripping. This was in like the peak of my like career. I had to shell out down payments for 3 months worth of drops, which would have been, we were doing 1 drop a month. So roughly 3 months of drops. I think I had to spend like over $200,000 I had to give to China to start. And I didn't see that money come back for up to like 6 months, but I made 70% margins on my investment. So I made a lot of money from it. But for me, that was a hard business decision, putting that much money out without seeing it all come back at once. But it worked. So the benefit with China is you get complete flexibility with how you want something cut. If you want it shorter here, you want the shoulder to drop a little bit. If you want it a little bit cropped, if you want to do like more French terry or ring spun cotton, if you want to do like a specific type of quality, you have all the flexibility with going overseas to China, or some people I know do Turkey as well. The only con of going overseas is the language barrier at times can be annoying with like the responses back and forth. And it just takes a long ass time to get it going because you don't want to buy in bulk something unless you have a sample. So you got to get a sample made, which takes a few weeks, even up to a month sometimes to get to you. And then if you want something changed, you got to get another sample made, then it gets sent to you. Then you put your bulk order in, that takes 3 months to get to you. So it's a lot more of a process when you're doing it overseas. And it's a lot of like trial and error because sometimes there's bad manufacturers. So if you need help finding a manufacturer, you should use Alibaba. And then it's all trial and error. I can give you some that I know off rip that I actually enjoyed working with, which is Rainbow Touches. And I think it's Hukai Sportswear is where we did our compressions and whatnot. That's me giving y'all free. People don't give away their manufacturers like that. I don't care giving it to y'all because I'm more focused on the inner circle right now than clothing stuff like I used to be. So that's why I don't care about showing y'all. But there's a bunch of good manufacturers around in China, Turkey. You can find from other people, or it's just trial and error using stuff like Alibaba. So again, the benefit to China is all that crazy customized flexibility. That's when it becomes no longer like a merch brand. It's its own separate clothing brand that has its own brand identity because it's different than all the other stuff that everyone else is doing. That's a cool benefit of going overseas. One thing I absolutely hate this about the clothing industry or any merch companies who do this shit, influencers. It's just because you're broke and you don't want to invest in your actual brand. You want to use other people's money to invest in your shit. That's going to be people who do pre-order drops. Oh my goodness. I hate people who do pre-order drops. It's because you got no money to invest in your brand. So you take other people's money and then you do it. This is how it works. This is what they do. They do a crazy cool like collection drop. They hype it up like crazy. Take everybody's money in through Shopify without having any of the stuff on hand. They get like hundreds of thousands of dollars from the drop. And then they go to their manufacturer and say, hey, we sold this many items of this one. And then they put the purchase order in so that they're not sitting on any dead inventory and they're not having to use their own money to invest into the brand. So there's literally no risk whatsoever because they're taking everybody else's money that already came in. For me, what I did ethically is I invested into myself and I would buy all the stuff up front, have it in hand, so that everybody's getting their shit right away. So when these people do these pre-order drops, that's why they tell you you're not going to get your order for 8 to 12 weeks because they're literally using your money to invest into their own business. I know people who even have done this in my own industry, and I've looked down upon that so much because it's just a shitty business model. Like you're taking their money to literally buy your own product. Like have it in hand itself instead of going to buy your damn dream car. Use your money to reinvest in your own shit. I hate people that do the pre-order drops, dude. A lot of these like hype streetwear brands do it because they're usually broke, so they just want to take everyone else's money. They got cool shit. I'm not gonna lie, they got cool shit. But customer has to wait like 8 to 12 weeks to get their product. Like is gonna be a customer that majority of the time can fall off. That's not good business. So I speak against that. That's why I had to go on a tangent. I hate people that do that. And I never did that. Actually, I did it one time. I did it with the AS color. We did Trump shirts. We saw that Trump got shot. We made shirts of that, but we had to do it because we had to put an order in for it. So we did that locally where we printed it ourselves. That's the only time I did that. And it was a super small drop, so I wouldn't even count it. Cool. So now that we covered the 3 ways you can kind of run a clothing brand, the way to get started is first off, you have to find a name, register it, own the domains, offer all that. You want to have all the creative info that you own, creating the name. That's the hardest part, coming across what you think is going to be a sellable name that you feel like you can market. Then it's going to be the branding aspect, getting logos made, certain fonts. For me, I like to outsource all this work. So I use Fiverr or Upwork. I personally used Fiverr. I found one guy that I thought was really good, really talented, and then I worked with him one-on-one directly to help me with clothing designs, all that good stuff. Now, the benefit now in the clothing industry, AI has become such a huge thing so that like before people had to focus on like shit getting copyrighted and like copying people's designs. Now with AI, you can like go into something which we literally did for a lot of designs. Midjourney AI is actually what I use. I'm putting y'all on a free yam again. Literally use Midjourney to get the basic designs, and then I sent it to my guy on Fiverr to make into the designs for the clothing brand, which was sick, and make collections out of it. The cool benefit with AI is like every AI image can be different, so no one can necessarily like own it direct, you know what I mean? So that was the cool aspect of using AI, and then I'd send it to the guy to change it up more, make it look more of the way I wanted it to. So that's how I would get my designs, through outsourcing. You also have to have a website and whatnot made. You can just use Shopify, learn yourself. There's a ton of free information online for how to set up websites and whatnot. I even talk about it in my courses on the Inner Circle, another Inner Circle plug. But there's a bunch of free information online. You don't need to do that to learn how to make a website, how to set everything up. Now, after you have like the main core brand concept done, it's how do you market the brand? And this is where we go again. I'm going to speak on this is why it's important to build your online personal brand, because when you have influence, that itself is your marketing. People pay me as an influencer to use me as a billboard because I have eyes on me. I get 70 million profile views a month, so people will pay for that. When you have that organically, you don't have to pay for ads because people already are seeing your stuff that people would pay for in general. So that's the benefit of building an online personal brand, because you yourself become your own marketer, which is lit. In terms of building a clothing brand, you can still make a personal brand online with the clothing brand as your identity. I've seen plenty of successful brands who they show the back end process of what it's like to be like a small new brand and documenting themselves, fulfilling orders, going live, selling their stuff on TikTok live or whatnot, showing the process of waking up as a small business owner and having a clothing brand, showing into that stuff, like into people's lives. People like that. You develop personal, intimate connection through the camera. Even if you think it's boring, people still like what other people are passionate about. I can sit and listen to someone yap about something that they're into that I don't care about, but like just because they're so passionate and into it, I'm like listening, active. So people can connect when they see people that are inspired by something, and that authenticity is interesting to watch. That's why people will watch people like the one outdoor guy who like travels with this kid and just like builds huts and shit in the wilderness, and like people watch it because like he's passionate about it and he documents it and people watch it and he gets millions and millions of views. So it's the same concept. Like document yourself building your online brand, document yourself building the clothing brand, going through trial and error, trying out new stuff that fits good and that doesn't. From doing that, you'll slowly build up a little bit of an audience, people who are like low-key rooting for you. Have a Discord community that you're active in, and you're involving people in the concept of building your brand and showing it in a way that's like aesthetic and appealing. You know, include hooks, include giving value to people. And I promise people will start to watch you and follow it. It just takes time, obviously, with anything. Some people blow up overnight, some people it takes longer to blow up. But I think it's really good to show the concept of building the clothing brand, be open, be vulnerable, show the journey of it. And I think people will watch that. And when you do your drops, I think that they'll be more successful the more that you have a community involved into it. Now, if you have more money to invest in yourself, right? Or let's say you do one drop, you get a little bit of money back, you should reinvest into paid ads if you don't have the strongest personal brand. So obviously I had a strong personal brand, although when I started, I had less than 10K followers on Instagram when I did my first merch drop, and it's still sold out. That's the power of social media. But if you don't have that yet, you should be doing paid ads, finding various marketing agencies, or even trying experimenting with yourself, Meta ads, Google ads, Snapchat ads, YouTube ads, all that good stuff. Always reinvest into your brand. I hate when people, again, they just get their bag up and they immediately go and buy their mother a car or their own dream car. Like keep continuously reinvest back and back and back and back and back into your own business, and just keep scaling from then on out. Sell a drop of 50 shirts out, buy another 50 shirts, maybe double it up, and then put any other extra profit into ad spend to guarantee that you continue to keep selling out, building up that hype, building up that demand. Even when I know what a lot of clothing brands do, like this is what a lot of clothing brands do. I know that they do this because I've in on a lot and I've worked with multiple. They will make it look like their shit sells out when it doesn't, right? To create hype, to create demand, and then they'll just drop a restock. But it's just the shit from the first initial drop. Bro, it's FOMO. It's common psychology. It's how it works. So thankfully, a lot of my shit always would sell out just because I knew how much to order and I knew my following. We would hype it up like crazy. We had a really good marketing strategy, which is, again, another thing you should have when you're making a clothing brand. Have good marketing strategies around your drops. Have photo shoots planned around your drops. One person I want to give a brief shout out to, Marshall Cruz, has done an amazing job in his clothing brand. And I recommend checking out some of his stuff because he's got a good channel where he shows that. And he's done an amazing job at changing his fitness brand into one that's clothing oriented and documenting the back end. That's what I mean. It's such a good thing to do as a clothing brand owner, to make content like that people will be attracted towards, and they like that style. So showcase the grind and the way forward. People will watch it, and from that, they'll even support you more. And that's how you sell more of your brand without even realizing it. You know what I mean? You're just documenting it for fun. From then on out, it's just scaling, becoming more creative. Again, there's a lot more details that go into it. I still hope you gain some sort of value from this. The concept of if you've had questions and how to even start like a clothing brand or whatnot. But again, all this will circulate around the concept of why it's important to build an online personal brand, because that makes everything so much easier. Let's say you didn't want to start a clothing brand, but you wanted to start a supplement brand. The Trench Twins, guys I lived with, they were my best friends. Like, they started a supplement brand off of their personal brand because they built a following, they built good content, giving value. So whenever they started their supplement company, it skyrocketed because they already had a heavy personal brand online. So it doesn't matter what brand you're trying to do, whether it's supplements, clothing, epoxy floor brand. If you have a personal brand, whatever you start is more likely to succeed and gives that initial boost. The hardest part is getting off the ground. Once you get that initial drop or whatever it is, the first job, the first client, from there, it's just reinvesting and scaling. The hardest part is getting the first client. This can be even for personal training businesses. which I help people out in the inner circle as well. The hardest part is getting your first client. Then it's getting client 2, 3, 4. Once you get past that initial barrier, it's easier because you're just reinvesting back into yourself, whether it's paid ads, you have testimonials at that point. The hardest part's the beginning. From then on out, it's just scaling. But the bigger personal brand you have at first, the more success you have to get past that initial barrier, if that makes sense. Then it's just boom from here. So that's why it's important to grow your personal brand. Go watch the other videos if you haven't already. Appreciate you guys. Code Alex, Young LA, and Bucked Up, getting me through this video recording sesh. If you guys have any questions, drop down below. If you want to see any other videos or for me to go into more detail about stuff, because this is very surface level, let me know and I'll make more videos. Appreciate y'all.